Hello, my friends. Good morning. We are at day 2 for 1-2 flex, and I'm so excited to stretch. Oh my gosh, my camera is doing something weird. Okay, so we are going to go into hip mobility today. It'll be nice and juicy. So we are going to get started in our tabletop position, but if you are not feeling tabletop that much, I would suggest doing this first movement, just doing standing hip circles. So I'm going to come back onto my mat and we will dive in to this morning's 1-2 flex session. Yeah. All right. So let me adjust my camera down here and I'll scoot on over. So coming into tabletop, hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. And for this specific one, I'm actually going to walk my hands forward. So like I mentioned before, if you don't feel comfortable being on your hands and knees as much as I do, you can just go for standing hip circles. So what we're going to do if you're on the ground is dropping your hips to the right, through center, to the left, pushing it back. Okay? And we're just going in these nice little circles. So if you're doing standing hip circles, you, of course, are also taking your time, going forward, side, back, side, forward. Just getting some nice movement in our hips. And when it feels good, you can switch direction, okay? Going through it. So for today's morning class, you do have the option of having yoga blocks around, and I'll let you know how we would be using them if you want to. All right. Let's just do one more. Coming back into our classic tabletop. So if you're doing standing hip circles, I do want to ask you to come down to your mat with me. I'm going to extend one leg straight out beside me. So this is my right leg in line with my hip, in line with my other knee. I have the option of tucking my back toes or keeping them relaxed. And I'm just going to slowly shift my weight back towards my heel. Just take a breath and back forward. So we're doing our adductor rock backs here. So you can take your time, sit it back, come back through center. Okay, if you'd like, you can hold it back here for an extra moment or two if it feels good. And then come back. Good, let's do another 2 more. Good. Come up. So I'm actually going to bring this foot forward. So I'm going to lift myself up, step it forward. It's coming in line with the edge of my mat. So we're not going into a classic kneeling lunge here, but actually a lizard lunge. So if we want to use blocks, we can here at whatever setting feels good, just on the inside of your foot. Otherwise, you bring your hands to the floor on the inside of your foot. So I'm going to adjust my back leg because I like a nice long lizard lunge, but you do not have to if it doesn't feel good. We are thinking of our tailbone curling in to our belly button. And I'm actually going to, if it feels good, open my knee out. When my knee opens, my foot comes up. So let me just give you a little front view. Okay, so classic kneeling lunge, knee in line with hip. Lizard lunge, it's a little bit open. Hands are forward. And like I said, if you want to open up, you lift the toes, roll the foot, the knee opens with. Okay, so that is our lizard lunge. So we're going to hold this for a moment or two. Breathing deeply, and you have the option of going deeper into this. So you can come down to your forearms. You can also just opt to walking your hands forward. That'll also get it deeper. This is going to get really in to the outside of the hip area. And I want you to focus on breathing deeply here. Okay, so we're doing that hip stretch, but also a hip flexor stretch. So hip flexor is the front of the thigh, kind of those muscles that connect to the thigh, to the torso. Good. Breathing deeply. One more breath. I want you to bring the knee back in towards your shoulder, and we're going to start pushing our weight back, turning it into a half split. So my front leg is straight or straight-ish. It can have a small bend in it. I'm going to heel toe my foot back in line with my hips, so it's going to our classic half split. And again, we can use blocks here, okay? And we can have it more upright, or we can walk our hands further towards our feet. That's going to be more intense. The biggest thing I want you to focus on is the tailbone. I want you to think of curling it up into the sky and then folding that bit. And that's when you're really going to get the hamstring activation here. Okay, so again, breathing nice and deeply through it. Good. And slowly lift your torso up. Bring this leg back in. We're going to switch sides, do that whole little sequence again. So I'm just going to swing around here for our adductor rock backs first. So come into our tabletop, one leg extended out in line with the hip as best as you can. Again, you can tuck the back toes or keep them relaxed. That's up to you. And we slowly sit it back and come forward. Okay, and we go again. So breathing nice and deep through it. Remember, you can hold it back here if it feels nice. So an adductor rock back is, well, rocking back, as you can see. But the adductor muscles, if you're unsure of what ones those are those groin muscles, the inner thighs that we actually don't stretch too often. And so you're probably feeling those every time you sit back. I always like stretching those out because, again, we don't stretch them often. It doesn't feel good when we do. All right, let's do 2 more. Good. Find your center. And again, we can just bring that foot forward. Bring it to the outside of the mat. Hands on the inside of the leg. If we want to adjust the back leg, we can shimmy it back a bit. You don't have to, though. We do want to think of the tailbone curling under towards the belly button. And when it feels good, we will lift the big toe, roll to the side of our foot, let the knee open. Okay, so again, we're just breathing through this one. We're letting gravity do some of the work. And we have the option of walking our hands forward or coming down to our forearms. If that feels good, maybe you can get your forehead to the mat. Okay, in the morning, I know my hips are a little bit stiff. So I want to, of course, listen to my body and only go as far as it feels good. So that may not be my furthest, and that's fine. And just taking it day by day, hour by hour. So maybe we find this evening for our next session, which will be on the lower back, we can go a little bit further into our movements after, spending the day warmed up. All right, take one more deep breath here. Bring the knee into the shoulder, start pushing the hips back. Heel toe the foot so it's back in line with the hip. Hands on either side. Again, you can opt for blocks if you'd like. If you want less intensity, you lift your torso up. More intensity, you fold forward, walk towards that foot. Biggest thing here is focusing on the tailbone, pulling up to the sky. As if we could find an arch in our lower back. Because even if I'm here doing that, I can still feel the stretch. And of course, it's just a lot more intense the further I go down. So I just want you to breathe into it. Remember, you can keep a soft bend in the knee if you'd prefer. It doesn't have to be fully straight. Go for another 3, 2, 1. Slowly lift on up. Bring that foot in and down. Let's come onto our bums here. We're going to come in to a wide V, a straddle shape. If you do have blocks around and you're using them, you can also be sitting on them for this one, or sitting on a pillow or something, especially if you feel when you're in this wide V that you need to fall backwards. Like you feel like your quads, the top of your thighs, and your core is doing a lot and you're falling backwards. I want you to lift your hips up, and that will really help that kind of feeling from stopping. So we are going to end off in one of my favorite flows, a lateral flow. So let's point our toes. Why not? One hand is going to come in front of me. This is my right hand to the floor. My left arm is going to come up. I'm going to take an inhale. Exhale, I'm going to side bend. So like yesterday's classes, in our side bend, we don't want the arm coming forward. We want it in line with our ear, or maybe opening back behind us a bit. Good. And we're going to slowly twist our torso towards the leg we're leaning towards. So of course, if you got a belly like I do, you can move it, okay? Remember, it's your body. Make this movement work for you. I'm going to think heart to knee here, not nose to knee. I don't want to round my spine too much. I want to think of my spine long, folding over. Hands can be to the ground, to the leg, to the foot, if that feels comfortable for you. And let's take a quick peek at our opposite hip. Mine is lifted, so I'm just gonna push it down to make sure both hips are grounded here. And just take another deep breath here. I'm gonna slowly walk our hands forward. This is coming towards our pancake split. I'm not expecting you to go nose to the floor here. I do want you to arch your tailbone up to the sky and think of a hinge action at the hips coming forward. You don't have to worry about your hands walking forward. You can keep them close by. I find it gives me a little bit more balance support. And you're just hinging just to find a nice stretch in the inner thighs, a little bit of action in the outer hips. Good. Let's do one more deep breath here. On the exhale, walk to the opposite leg, heart to knee. Okay, so again, hands can be wherever it feels good. Make sure your back hip, or what is now your back hip, is grounded. Mine loves to lift up when I do this. And of course, we think heart to knee, so we're not rounding anything crazy, just trying to think of a long spine. Good. On the next exhale, twist your torso up to the sky. Bring that arm up and over into our side bend. Good. Wonderful. I'll take another deep breath or two here. Exhale it up. You can use your hands to bend your knees, bring it forward. That does bring us to the end of our first day 2 of 1-2 flex. So tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll be coming back on live for a lower back release, which I'm so excited for. So, of course, I want you to stay hydrated as I scoot on over here. I want you to stay hydrated. Of course, let me know in the comments now or later how your body is feeling as we get through these days We have a few more days ahead of us. This will be nice and juicy as we keep it going. But like I said, I'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Woo!